He's never fought us. Not us united.
Die. Oh! I can so see that. That's it. Welcome to Comics League Indie Wednesday. I am Jared, and today I am returning to Scott Snyder and Charles Soule's amazing patriotic tale, Undiscovered Country. I got volumes 2 and 3 recently, so I'm covering volume 2 this week. Volume 3 will be covered next week. So, the basic gist to get you caught up on the story, and I'll put like a card to the volume 1 discussion up here in the video somewhere. I don't know where YouTube puts it, but first off, just want to remind you guys, like, comment, subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to keep producing great comic reviews like I got for you this week. So, Undiscovered Country. This is a story. So there's a virus spreading throughout the world. Well, isn't this relevant? And what happens is, so the virus is spreading, but also the United States is completely walled off. There's no one in, no one out. And it's been like that for many years. Then all of a sudden, a signal is sent outside inviting people in to negotiate with the United States, maybe negotiate trade deals and such. So the world government sends a party of people, and there's like a journalist, an expert on American culture, 2 siblings, and a couple of diplomats in to basically negotiate. What they discover is the country's basically Mad Max country, like nuts. There are people riding land sharks. Yes, land sharks. There are people driving Mad Max cars and like causing general mayhem. That was volume 1. Volume 2 is a more tech-themed one. So each of these little regions, so the United States is made up of different like territories. And the one that we're going to talk about now is called Unity. And with Unity, I'm not going through the story beat by beat, or maybe I will. So the story starts off and we see like a meeting of the United States government. In other words, the post-cut off United States government. And we're going to return to this conversation throughout the book because it's actually really important to frame the overall story. We return to our heroes, and they're in this train crash in the middle of the woods, and then they find another Uncle Sam. So there's an individual named Dr. Sam Elgin who's heavily involved with like the cutoff of the United States, and interestingly enough, the release of the virus. Because what's discovered here is Charlotte, our protagonist, her parents were responsible for dispersing the toxin called, I think it's called like blue or sky. They were responsible for dispersing the toxin that is killing people. So that's actually really, really interesting reveal, and I didn't see that coming when I was reading this. And so what's important is, so she was infected, but they gave her a cure at the end of volume 1, so they used up their cure. But they're continuing on because apparently deeper in there's another cure. So they're driving through these. They have this really weird encounter with Sam Elgin in that in the woods, he basically shows them he can like manipulate or techno-organic matter, and he makes like a little old car, and they drive into this like tech city, which is really weird. And they discover like this technocratic civilization where like everyone is basically, I mean, it's kind of abstract, but the way I took it is it's kind of like code in a way. In other words, what I mean by that is it's like a computer in that everyone like rearranges matter. Everyone's kind of artificial. And the idea is that everyone contributes. So the reason why it's called Unity is because everyone contributes all of themselves to the overall society. So I guess that's kind of interesting. And what's cool is we learn more about the tech city, but we also discover it has kind of a sinister little secret. Chief among them, in a recreation of the United States Capitol, what they use is they actually use like the brains of people to power this thing. In other words, they take out the brain, they hook it up, and then the brain power, the neural power, powers the city, which I think is really creepy. And then we see this really creepy like zombie person who is actually Dr. Jane. She's like the one that like runs the city. So the way it works is when you're hooked up to the machine, the techno matter, as I'm calling it, I'm gonna call it techno matter, recreates you. In other words, a sort of artificial, kind of like cloning, and you can kind of control it from this area. So it's kind of like piloting a drone, and that's basically what happens here. And her plan is Dr. Jane wants the techno organic like world to expand and encompass the entire world. It's kind of like it's kind of like a zombie virus in a way because they want to spread. And the whole idea, and she explains throughout this book that okay, so yeah, America has that spirit, but what also defined America is that most technological advances that the world depends upon were created in America, like the telephone, the internet, the phone, and such. So it makes sense that this technological invention would be for America in that sense. And again, so what she does, she clones all the, she captures the party, clones them, and sends the clones out because they're supposed to be like a Trojan horse to the other territories. So then they manage to escape because what Charlotte does is she sort of enters this technological, like this sort of mental, I guess, mindscape, like world between worlds, if you will, kind of like Matrix. And she basically talks to the people that like powering the simulation, if you will, and says, "Hey, listen, you don't have to do this. I know what you guys are going through." Such, she gives them that whole speech, and then it shuts down the machine, and then she's able to escape, but not before you also have um, one of the main antagonists of the book. I'm trying to remember his name in here, but he looks like this. It looks really good. I think it's called The Son of Liberty or something like that, but I'm actually flipping back through the book so I can find that. But the thing is that when I'm looking at the thing that I like about this book, well, one of the many things I like about this series is that it takes abstract ideas like patriotism and like jacks them up to like 100 with like all the American iconography and like you have characters like basically repeat like phrases from the Constitution, like "shall not be infringed" and such. And it's actually really cool, and I like this. And this is totally up Scott Snyder's like what's the word, alley, because he's one of those writers where he can do this really well, and he's done like really abstract stuff with like Dark Knight's Metal, Death Metal, and such. His Batman run, absolutely. Oh, he's called the Destiny Man. So there you go. That's that really creepy guy that like that. And he's been pursuing them for so long. And then the crew, okay, so are moving to the next zone. The key to unlock the door is an old first generation iPod, and they have to pick like the right song that's gonna open up the gate. And the song ends up being "Weird Science" by Danny Elfman. So they escape and they land on this. They essentially they go through this like portal, if you will, and they're in the Ford's Theater. So immediately someone's like, "Oh God, they get shot in the face," but they realize they're on a pirate ship, and that's where part two ends. And part three apparently brings in superheroes. So that's Undiscovered Country Part Two. So the art in this book is really, really good. Giuseppe Camuncoli really nails it. Obviously, I can't say enough good things about Scott Snyder and Charles Sewell's writing. It's amazing as usual. I've loved their work for so long with like Scott Snyder on Batman, but also Charles Sewell with like the Darth Vader series, Superman, Wonder Woman. Just again, these writers keep jacking up. They even explain like why Charlotte has a blue streak in her hair and what that is. It's actually really cool. So when we meet Charlotte in volume one, she's working at like a refugee camp where they're dealing with this virus. And since it's called like the blue or the sky, I can't remember which. Whenever actually I can check that right now. So the way it works is she was working at these camps, and as it turns out, and it's called first game I say? Okay, it's called Sky. It's called Sky. So what she did is, for every person that died under her watch, she dyed a strand of her hair blue. Obviously, a lot of people died, and that adds a sort of bit of symbolism for that story, and it's really amazing. Now, how would I rate Volume 2? Again, I'd say about 9 out of 10. And they just keep jacking up the storyline to like 11. That's just what Scott Snyder does, and that's again why he's one of my favorite writers. It's the same thing for Charles Soule, and I can't wait to review Volume 3 next week. I'll get started on reading that. So that's where I'm going to leave this. All in all, fantastic book. You guys should definitely be reading Undiscovered Country. It's so good. So in terms of what's next for Comics League, still working out what Under Two Capes is going to be. I'm hoping maybe to have Snyder Queen on to talk about DC stuff. But what we're going to do for Saturday again is, all right, so the afternoon, about noonish, I'm going to do a watch party for Justice League, the Whedon cut of Justice League. We're going to watch that, react to it, and then a couple hours later at 7 p.m., we're going to do our April Fool's watch discussion. So basically what that is, well, first we're going to review Animatrix briefly because we didn't get a chance to do that because life stuff came up. So we're going to get that out of the way. And then starting with Nick, we're going to, so the way we did the April Fool's stream is every one of us was assigned by the other members of the Comics League family something that we know the person hates, and they have to positively review it and essentially act like they are shills of that content. Me, I have to review Justice League. That's why I'm watching it at noon. And I have to read and positively like fawn over Civil War 2. It can be tough. To give you an idea of how cruel I am, Jay Heat has to review Marvel. That's his comic. And then his movie is Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. So, there you go. And Taladia has to review the Gotham Knights show. So there you go. That's going to be really fun. But that's where I'm going to leave it. Stay heroic, everyone. And I will see you in the next review for Undiscovered Country Volume 2. Bye-bye now.